Hi, my name's Scott and this is Matt, and today we'll be talking to you about the UK Bunnings failure. Up until now, Bunnings has been the leading retailer of home improvement and outdoor living products in Australia and New Zealand, and a major supplier to project builders, commercial tradespeople and the housing industry. The idea behind the move was to capture as much market share in the UK as they did in Australia and New Zealand. Despite this, little did they know that the UK market will be a completely different ballpark to that of the Australian one. Throughout this presentation, we will critically examine the reasons behind this failure and what Bunnings should have been otherwise doing to adapt and become a large competitor in the UK market. To achieve this, we will be asking the following 5 questions about the organisation. What has been the outcome for Wesfarmers with this venture? Did Bunnings have a sustainable source of competitive advantage? How did Bunnings attempt to position itself in the UK market? Do you believe the UK market was an attractive option for Bunnings? What international strategy did Wesfarmers adopt in the UK?
So the first topic that will be discussed is what has been the outcome for Wesfarmers with this venture. So Wesfarmers went to the UK and expected everything to go as it had been in Australia for some time now, and that is very well. Little did they know that by employing the same strategies for England as they do for Australia, the franchise would not take off and instead be a monumental failure. In 2016, Bunnings paid $700 million for the already established player Homebase. The people in charge attempted to copy and paste the Australian model rather than alter their mission and goals to satisfy the consumers from the UK. As a result, from the $700 million invested they placed in 2016, they then went on to sell the company in 2017 for close to £1. Along with this loss, Bunnings are expected to have lost nearly $1.7 billion of shareholder value, with their managing director Rob Scott saying all the executives take full responsibility for the failure.
So the next point we will be talking about is whether or not Bunnings had a sustainable source of competitive advantage. A sustainable source of competitive advantage is created when a business implements a value-creating strategy, which is not simultaneously being implemented by any current or potential competitor, and these competitors are unable to duplicate the benefits of this strategy. To calculate this, we will use Barney's resource-based view theory, which concentrates on an internal analysis of an organisation. The resource-based view is comprised of tangible and intangible assets. Some identifiable assets available to Bunnings include extensive financial resources through the Wesfarmers conglomeration, which allowed them to acquire over 250 warehouses located throughout UK and Ireland. These warehouses host an extensive inventory of established brands and home products, which are known for their low prices and good quality. Furthermore, Bunnings are known for their customer service and industry knowledge, which flows from their human resources. Capabilities are a complex configuration of these resources combined to achieve a desired end result. Resources and capabilities are core to an organization's competitive advantage. For example, Bunnings has an extensive product range, boasting the widest range of goods under one roof. However, if their employees were not knowledgeable in their product, this could result in a loss in sales and return customers, thus decreasing the value of the brand. Therefore, the connection between tangible and intangible resources is important in the creation of sustainable competitive advantage. Another important aspect to consider when evaluating is the resources and capabilities of an organization's need to be heterogeneous, meaning they differ between organizations providing platforms to implement different strategies. Furthermore, resources are not mobile. Therefore, companies cannot replicate competitors' resources and implement the same strategies. According to the RBV, resources will only be considered a source of competitive advantage if they meet the VIRN criteria, meaning they must be valuable, rare, inimitable, and non-substitutional. Valuable capabilities help a firm neutralize threats or exploit opportunities. Whilst rare capabilities are not possessed by many others, inimitable capabilities are historically unique and can include things such as organizational culture or brand name. And finally, non-substitutional capabilities have no strategic equivalent, meaning what they do cannot be done in any other way. Let's assess some of Bunnings' resources and capabilities to see if they are a source of sustainable competitive advantage. Bunnings implements a unique pricing strategy where they guarantee the lowest price or 10% off your purchase item. Bunnings continually compares their products against other markets and adjusts their prices when necessary to ensure they are delivering the lowest price. This pricing strategy is valuable to the organisation due to it being seen as something consumers want, guaranteed lower prices. It will also be considered rare, as no other hardware store is able to implement the same strategy. Furthermore, the strategy is built upon the company continually lowering its price to ensure they are the lowest in the marketplace. Thus, it will be difficult and costly to imitate. However, other hardware in the stores UK have implemented loyalty cards to provide discounts to consumers. Therefore, there is a substitute available, and this strategy would not be considered a source of competitive advantage. Bunnings promotes itself as a one-stop shop, providing all your hardware needs and more in one location. They have an extensive inventory of world-leading products and quality-owned brands, totaling over 30,000 individual items. Bunnings has the ability to negotiate with suppliers on a world market level, ensuring efficiency and cost-effective strategies in inventory management. They have a broad range of services available, on-site cafes and knowledgeable staff. This provides Bunnings with a valuable capability. However, their competitors also boast similar capabilities, with the only difference being inventory options. Therefore, this strategy is not rare. Furthermore, as it exists, it would not be considered inimitable. And finally, other hardware suppliers are able to create a similar strategy. Thus, there is a substitute, and this strategy would not be considered a source of competitive advantage.
Alright, so thirdly, we'll be talking about how Bunnings attempted to position themselves in the UK market. So to do this, we'll be using the Porter's model of 5 generic competitive strategies, as can be seen on screen. So Wesfarmers spent 2 years researching the UK market to ensure their strategy would succeed, including visiting stores and investigating the supply chain. However, as we've discussed, they eventually implemented the same strategy that they were so successful with in Australia. According to our analysis, this was an example of the best cost provider strategy. The best cost provider strategy means that they pursued a blend of low cost and differentiation practices and focused on providing customers with the best value for money. Value is described as the ratio of price to perceived worth, which means organisations can charge higher prices if they also increase value. However, this is a difficult strategy to implement correctly. As Porter said, it can cause businesses to be stuck in the middle of the low-cost and differentiation strategies. That means that low-cost providers will steal away buyers with their lower prices, and high-end differentiators will steal away buyers with their better quality products. Therefore, to be successful, organisations must ensure their products are significantly better than the low-cost alternatives and significantly cheaper than the high-quality alternatives. Bunnings' tagline is a great example of it pursuing the best cost provider strategy, being lowest prices at just the beginning. They ensure that they do have the lowest prices through their pricing guarantee, which says that if a competitor has a lower price, they'll beat it by 10%. They use these low prices in conjunction with differentiating features such as their employees' extensive knowledge of products and DIY projects. Another differentiating feature is their extremely wide range of products, which are available to customers under one roof. They're also famous in Australia for their weekend sausage sizzles, which raise money for local causes. This in particular is hard for competitors to copy, as it is known as a feature unique to Bunnings. Deeper investigations show that Bunnings is actually not always the most affordable retailer, but they appear to provide the best value to customers because of their clever methods of signalling to consumers. They set unusual prices such as $78.27 to signal to customers that the lowest possible price has been set, even when that is not the case. They also signal affordability by using staff in their advertisements, as this makes them look low production and low cost, thereby signalling affordability once again. This was successful in Australia, and Wesfarmers implemented the same positioning strategies in the UK, expecting it to yield the same results. However, while Bunnings Australia managed to get the best cost provider strategy exactly right, Bunnings UK couldn't avoid the strategy's pitfalls. To establish themselves as a low-cost provider in the UK, Bunnings had to compete with B&Q's low prices, but this sometimes meant dropping prices by 10 to 15%, which did not lead to a profit. Another difference was the interest in do-it-yourself projects. While DIY culture is strong in Australia, it's very weak in the UK. This means that extensive employee knowledge of DIY projects was not valuable to UK customers, and therefore not a value-adding differentiation feature. Australia's popular sausage sizzles also did not translate to be a valuable feature to the English market, which was likely due in part to the different climate. They also tried to sell tea and cakes instead of sausages, but this also failed to be a valuable feature. When Bunnings rebranded Homebase, they increased the range of products, but failed to realise what customers considered value for money. When changing the product range, they removed popular brands Homebase had been selling, such as Laura Ashley and Habitat. This alienated some consumers who looked for these products and instead found brands they did not place value in. An example of this was Bunnings UK's new range of flat pack kitchens, which did not come with installation services and did not appeal to UK homeowners. This caused kitchen and bathroom sales in particular to fall. Finally, Bunnings' strategy of having a broad target market was not successful in the UK. A huge portion of Homebase's customers were women who enjoyed the available products. When Bunnings changed the product range to service a wider target market, they removed products these women valued, which alienated women and lost that large customer base.
The fourth point that will be discussed is whether or not we believe the UK market was an attractive option for Bunnings. It is no secret that Bunnings flopped in the UK due to a range of cultural differences, but the question should be raised as to whether or not the UK market was an attractive option. This will be done through the creation of a SWOT analysis which outlines the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats that Bunnings would have faced diving into the UK. This allows us to look at all the positives and negatives that could arise when moving countries and aids in the decision of whether or not Bunnings should have gone through with the move. So first, we'll talk about the strengths. Bunnings had great success in Australia with only 250 stores around the country. They were the market leader, therefore why not expand? Their DIY culture has served to be very successful here, so why not take it elsewhere? Everyday low prices and loyalty programs. Bunnings are known for their "we'll beat it by 10% motto. This particular tagline helped Bunnings become successful in Australia, and it is a characteristic that can be taken across to the UK. In 2015, at the end of the financial year, Wesfarmers had $2.44 billion worth of operational profits. Therefore, since Wesfarmers had a lot of money, they could attempt an international endeavour with financial confidence. Bunnings had built a name for themselves in Australia, and bringing the name across the borders could be enough to lure the curious customers. Now on to the weaknesses. Bunnings must take into account that the weather climate is different in the UK when compared to Australia, so this could affect the amount of consumers that actually partake in DIY projects. There will not be any experienced Bunnings employees in the UK, thus taking away from the company's expertise factor. UK's vote to exit the European Union had led to a decrease in the value of the pound. This could lead to a decrease in profits for the Australian-owned Wesfarmers. UK already have a range of hardware stores, why would they choose Bunnings? With a massive technological push in the last decade, online shopping has become huge. Bunnings have a subpar online store in Australia, so it's safe to assume this will be the same in the UK. This means while moving overseas, they could also lose customers to other companies with online stores. Next is the opportunities. The opportunity to buy 265 well-located home-based stores at a fairly cheap price and then rebrand them as Bunnings stores. Bunnings originally planned to keep all the stores as home-based stores and then slowly turn them into Bunnings stores when they understood the market. But as mentioned earlier, they just rushed in and copy and pasted the Australian way. A whole other country worth of consumers that can potentially be captured. Moving overseas can also increase brand awareness. This can give Bunnings an advantage back at home as they will be more well known when compared to their competitors. Threats. Competition from similar hardware retailers in the country such as B&Q and Wykes. The growing number of companies which takes contract maintenance jobs will reduce the hardware purchase among domestic users. The global economy scenario may lead to people investing less on houses, and the hardware industry can easily be affected. Local consumers not supporting an international brand, but rather sticking with their local UK brands. Through analysing the above SWOT analysis, it is evident that there is a range of positive and negative effects that Bunnings could bump into when moving overseas. But it must be noted that many of the perceived strengths are relying on Bunnings working in the UK as it worked in Australia. Therefore, we don't think it was a good idea for Bunnings to move to the UK.
And the final point we'll talk about is what international strategy did Wesfarmers adopt in the UK? So an international strategy is a strategy whereby organisations sell their products or services outside the domestic market. International markets provide potential new opportunities and organisational growth through increased market size. These new markets can expand products' life cycle, provide economies of scale through increased production, and increase resources and distribute knowledge. There are three types of international strategies: a global strategy, whereby organisations think global, act global; a transitional strategy, where organisations think global, act local; and finally, a multi-domestic strategy, where organisations think local and act local. When Bunnings entered the UK market, they implemented a global strategy. This strategy is based on an organisation being centralised and controlled by the corporate office. There is a primary emphasis on controlling costs through cost reduction and low product adaptation. Organisations implementing global strategies strive to offer standardised service and products worldwide. The strategy provided Bunnings with the ability to transfer historical processes, procedures, knowledge, and core competencies to new international locations, while also lowering costs through enhanced economies of scale and improving effectiveness whilst eroding that of its competitors. However, there are limits to this strategy, the main two being a limited ability to adapt to the local markets and inability to take advantage of new and innovative ideas occurring locally. Upon implementation, Bunnings treated the world as one market with little local variation. When Bunnings took over the home-based stores and began rebranding them as Bunnings, there was no consideration for the skills and knowledge available to them through current management. Instead, Bunnings sacked all the local managers and replaced them with their own people, who they implemented the global strategy which did not align with the UK market. They downsized or removed sale items that did not align with the overall global products, concentrating only on the sales and marketing strategies implemented in Australia and New Zealand. Not recognising the needs and desires of the local shopper, who were not interested in purchasing hardware DIY items or oversized barbecues, but rather visited home-based stores for homeware items, this eliminated a large part of their loyal existing customer base. Bunnings would have benefited from implementing a transnational strategy, which incorporates elements of both multi-domestic and global strategies. This style of strategy strives to optimise the trade-off associated with efficiency, local adaptation and learning, whilst allowing competitiveness on a global scale. Furthermore, this strategy has the ability to be responsive to local market conditions whilst remaining flexible in international operations. Implementing this type of strategy would have allowed Bunnings at an international level to be provided with financial support via the centralised headquarters, a strong international vision and marketing objective, and knowledge and support on an international scale. At a local level, Bunnings would have the ability to adapt inventory to suit the UK market. For example, when they rebranded, they stocked their store with oversized barbecues that did not appeal to the UK market. Ensuring product decisions took place locally would allow warehouses to stock inventory that suited the environment. Furthermore, research shows that UK consumers are very loyal to their brands. Therefore, if warehouse rebranding had been done at a local level and in stages, Bunnings would not have lost home-based loyal customers. A transnational strategy also provides for human resources to be managed at a local level, allowing knowledge and expertise to remain within the organisation whilst enhancing organisational culture and strengthening internal employee/employer relationships.
In conclusion, it is clear that despite Wesfarmers' extensive experience and knowledge of Bunnings in Australia, they were unable to make Bunnings successful in the UK. Although they were able to create a sustainable competitive advantage in Australia, this was not valuable in the UK market, which is one of the main reasons Bunnings flopped. As discussed, there were a number of positives and negatives to expanding to the UK market, but Bunnings were unable to capitalise on the opportunities of the market, and instead fell to the threats. Overall, this led to a massive failure from an expansion that promised so much.
So on behalf of all of us, we'd like to thank you all for watching and hope you learned a thing or two about why we believe Bunnings failed in the UK.